All right, so when I started this, there was one thing that I knew I was not going to do, and it was based on all the years that I followed content creators at EAFC or FIFA, right? And that was that I wasn't going to sugarcoat my feelings about the game. I was going to share the good, the bad, and the ugly with regards to the game, my own play, the whole nine, because that's how you can help people, right? And for instance, in EAFC, there would be glaring issues everyone was talking about in the game, and there would be certain content creators that would literally act like these issues didn't exist. They would maybe edit out some of the problems they were dealing with in game that were related to these issues that everyone was trying to get a response from EAFC, EA Sports about, and couldn't. And I immediately stopped watching those content creators because you don't improve doing that, right? It's essentially lying to your fan base, lying to the people that are following you or looking to you for feedback on the game, how to improve on the game, right? You have to share everything because that's what every player is experiencing. So it's just like in real life, right? If there's a player and he has a coach that constantly tells him how great he is, never points out the player's weaknesses or areas where they need to practice and improve, right? Where they're making mistakes and so on and so forth, it's actually a detriment to that player. It's no different with games. It's no different with content creators who put this stuff out there and then the developers watch it and that's how they get feedback to improve the game. So with all the positive things I've spoken on with UFL, I've also talked about areas they need to improve. I felt I've done a pretty good job, and I have another very important issue that needs to be addressed, and I want to show you some examples. And it has to do with the gameplay, and I guess you would call it lag, right? Now, if you watch these following clips, you're going to see a defense that's not reacting, ball bouncing around weird, going through defenders. This next few clips is all from one game, but it's literally an example of what I've been facing game after game, particularly in Showdown, though. Now, it could be one of two things. It could be the handicap that everyone's talking about, right? It absolutely could, where your players are essentially nerfed when you face a lower rated team. It could also be a server issue with regards to the parameters in Showdown matchmaking. You've seen that example right there? I mean, what on earth was that? The previous two examples you might have to slow down or rewatch a few times, but I mean, look at there. The defenders literally can't even, tackle's not registering. The ball's going through players. Look at this. Then I switch to a player, he runs. I mean, I was going towards the ball with my defender there. These things are happening over and over and over, right? And I'm not just going to sit here and make a 1,000-minute video of all these mistakes, just ragging on them, just like you wouldn't if you were coaching. You know, you show the player an example of where he needs to work on whatever area, what mistake he's making, and then you talk about it and improve. It's the same here, right? Now, I ended up winning this game, but there's a lot of games you end up losing from. So obviously that just compounds the issue. Most importantly, I want the game to be a success, and these kind of things hurt the game. But some games are still okay, right? You're going to see plenty of examples here where the gameplay was great. But for some reason in Showdown especially, a vast majority of the time, you get into these games where you can't even move. Now, what makes matters worse is there's 100% players out there that recognize this and utilize it almost like a skill, if you will. So I'll give you an example. Anybody who plays UFL knows what works and what doesn't work, right? So anybody that takes a ball, for instance, with a central midfielder or even an attacker, right? Like I have Mbappe and Messi on the wings, two of the best dribblers in the game. I would never just dribble at a full line a defense from the midfield and expect to do anything but get stopped. So the players who recognize the lag are obvious because they'll take one player and simply dribble the ball around, knowing that you can't react, knowing that your tackles aren't registering, and they'll simply dribble in circles until they finally can shoot the ball, right? It's literally that bad. So there's always going to be your quote-unquote rats. Those are the players I don't get because you don't get anything out of playing like that. However, UFL is going to have to fix this issue. If it's a matchmaking issue with regards to the server because of maybe they open up the distance for Showdown to try to help players get games quicker, well, then they need to hone in on that and fix that. If it truly is a handicap where they're trying to help lower level teams compete and they're nerfing the top teams or that stuck in the mud feeling or whatever it is comes from that. To me, the only reason I don't think it's that is because it would be a very weird way to make your game essentially look like trash as a way to help a lower rated team would be wild. So that's where I'm thinking it has something to do with matchmaking. And maybe in divisions, they have more strict parameters. So you don't get those games with terrible connection. That's my guess. UFL hasn't shown to be like EA Sports where they won't address these things, so I'm hoping they point out why these certain things happen. And it's only in certain games where tackles won't register, the ball does these weird bounces, the goalies won't react, right? The ball will go bouncing off your goalkeeper instead of catching it. Your shots are delayed, you'll press shoot and literally can count to three before the ball goes off the shooter's foot. So it makes it almost impossible to play. You do have your players that 1000% take advantage of this, and it's pretty easy to use your common sense and see when players are abusing these situations, right? Anybody could say, "Oh, it's you're being a sore loser," or you're just making excuses, but it's not hard to see when a player is playing in a way that absolutely wouldn't work. When, for example, you match someone that's, let's say, Platinum 2 in your Premier Division and they have a very poor record, but then all of a sudden they're able to take the ball with one player and dribble your whole team over and over. When your tackles aren't registering, your shots are delayed, and the other player gets the ball and abuses certain things that clearly go against how you can play, right? Your players are stuck in the mud, they can't move, and so they're just dribbling around with one player. Or they're pinging these short little passes around knowing that you can't react. Or it's very easy to tell because if they truly could play like that every game, I mean, think about it. They would be much higher rated and have a much better record. So it's not hard to see these things, and it truly has nothing to do with losses. It has to do with the fact that I want to see the player base grow. I want to see players buy into this game and commit to improving, commit to building their teams and have fun with it because that's how this game is going to become as big as it can become. When these kind of issues are left without addressing, then you're going to continue to lose more and more players because who in their right mind would keep playing a game where no matter how well they build their team, no matter how much they improve skill wise, it means nothing when they turn on and go into a game because of these issues where the opponent can take advantage and win and you have no answer for it. Your commands aren't registering, the ball's bouncing all over. It's not fun and it's not how the game is meant to be played. So let's give UFL a chance. If this is happening to you, just keep your head down, keep grinding, right? And keep trying to have fun.